Welcome, everyone, to this week's podcast. And here we are, 2026, and I am joined once again by a dear friend, although we've only met over the Zoom airways on our various podcasts, both me as interviewing Andy and he doing the same for me. And I knew for the start of this year, because we have a deep passion for the creating the most amazing experiences. And behind that is the values that run deep within an organization through their culture. So let me introduce you to once again Andy Goram. He is on a mission to help people have more fulfilling work lives. After 25 years in senior marketing and brand roles connecting the dots between marketing, HR, and operations, he founded Biz Juicer Consulting, helping organizations become stickier from the inside out. Known as the Sticky Guy, Andy works with companies across different sectors, including hospitality, retail, care, and manufacturing, to build cultures where great people want to stay, grow, and thrive. He's also the host of the popular podcast Sticky from the Inside, where global experts unpack what truly drives performance, engagement, effective leadership, and belonging at work. And belonging is so important. It really is, because we both love the world of our generational research in all areas of business, and that feeling of belonging is key. A regular Engage for Success radio co-host, panel moderator, and facilitator, Andy brings infectious energy, empathy, and practical insight to every stage he steps on, or whichever room he steps into. And he's walked straight into the room of my podcast. So, welcome, Andy. It's so lovely to see you again.
It's lovely to see you again, Michelle. Really lovely. God, that's a long bio, isn't it? My goodness me. No room for chat now. That's out the way. Listen, any chance to have a good old chinwag with you about the things that we're so passionate about, I grab with both hands, mate. So I'm really happy to be here today. Thank
Yeah,
you.
look, I'm so pleased that you are. So, look, it's important to read your bio because it just gives my listeners the opportunity to learn so much about you and also to connect with yourself on your podcast. So let's get down to it. Our love
Okay.
of people, of places, of connection, and that
Mhm.
feeling of belonging in the workplace. Now, in hospitality, guests remember how we made them feel, but that often starts behind the scenes. How
Mm.
have you seen the alignment between employee experience and customer experience directly shape truly memorable guest journey? And to me, there is definitely a true link between those two. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, because I don't think too many people are like you and me, Michelle. When we go out, we're probably sitting there analyzing process,
Yes.
looking at systems,
Mm.
taking the whole thing. Most of us, most real people, when we go out, we're just feeling
Yes.
stuff. As humans, we are sacks of emotions,
Mm.
being driven by how we feel. And I think particularly when it comes to hospitality, it's a feeling business, right?
Yes.
We're going out, we're making decisions, we're choosing where to go. Sometimes it's about the product,
Mm.
sometimes it's about the environment. All of these things add up into the experience we have and how we feel. And we are directly affected by the girls and girls who are in there doing their thing, trying to make this thing happen, right?
Yes.
We've all been there. Two things, two places doing the same thing. You've got one person who's engaging with you, seems to be happy in what they're doing,
Mm.
is chatty, wants to know a bit about you, ends up sharing stuff about themselves. Process happens in the background. I don't walk away from that place going, "Ooh, lovely, lovely process." I had a connection.
Yes.
I had a good time. The food
Mm.
might have not been amazing. Maybe the price was a bit funky.
Mm.
Actually, that all kind of goes into the background when I think about how I was made to feel during that experience. The,
Yes.
the other way, I can go to places where I feel like I'm an inconvenience
Mm.
to the person who's serving me, that there is no connection, there is no conversation. It's very transactional, it's very functional. The food could be amazing,
Mm.
the ambience could be fantastic, but I'm sort of left feeling, would I go back there?
Yes.
And I tend not to.
Mm.
I don't think I'm wholly weird and wholly different to lots of other people. The feeling thing is really important, particularly in hospitality. There's emotion leaking everywhere in hospitality,
Mm.
particularly if you go in the kitchens
Yes.
a lot of the time. You can't really hide it. But I think it's so important to understand the link between how our people actually feel
Mm.
and what that does to their ability to deliver a truly fantastic experience
Yes.
to your
Yes.
guests.
Mm.
I mean, you must see this all the time, right? You must
Oh,
see it
look.
all the time.
Yes, yeah, and it's been an interesting conversation over the last 3 decades, working with the hospitality industry. And I suppose it was a real wake-up call right back in the very beginning where I made a comment in one of my training sessions about the staff room. And
Mm,
it was just like this scoffs and and I'm thinking, like, seriously? Well, what does your staff room look like? And they said, well, come on down. And it was at that moment I thought there was this total disconnect and also disregard,
mm,
whether that's too harsh a word, but I think it was right in not understanding that you expect your team to, upstairs, so to say, speak upstairs, downstairs. Upstairs is this shine. We're providing this amazing service, this beauty. It's a show. It's fantastic. Because that's how we, want the leadership team are wanting the frontline team to engage with those members and guests, those patrons. However, how are we dealing with them, if we were the owner of the business or senior manager, is this staff room that is, it's got the broken furniture, it's got
yep.
last year's Chrissy decorations. In the world that I am with gaming, it's got old tab tickets and financial butts from here, checkbooks that are way overdue of being thrown out. And it's just this whole, and I used to think, how do you expect? And so
Mm.
it took that quite a while. And but now, not all, but many of them have really created beautiful spaces for the team. So they can come a little bit earlier. Or particularly if you're talking about split shifts, particularly in kitchens,
Oh yeah.
they don't want to travel an hour home and back. They can actually go and sit on the lounge, have a relax, have a meal, and just be themselves for that little while. Yeah.
I think it's the messages,
Mm.
intentional, unintentional, that you're sending
Yes.
to your people when, I mean, gaming particularly, my background, again, some of those, I'm going to say staff rooms, corridors,
Mm.
were just awful. What
Yes.
message are you sending to the people? Like,
Mm.
we're a people first organization, but don't give that much of a monkeys about it, really.
No,
So
no.
you will sit in that dingy old space. There's, I mean, I'm an older guy, right? And there's fantastic new thinking, but there's also some classic thinking in this sort of stuff. The service profit chain, the value profit chain, whatever you want to, if you
Yes.
call it, boils down to happy employees, happy customers, happy shareholders. I mean, it
Yes.
sounds very, very simplistic, but it blinking works,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
If I know what I'm like at work, if I'm in
Mm.
a blinking great mood, if I'm feeling really passionate about what I'm about to do, it doesn't matter how tough, how tired I might be. I am giving that full beans.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think this is what lies at the heart of hospitality. I also think some of the missed tricks that we have as leaders in this business is not or is failing to tap into people's passions.
Mm.
Like I had a wonderful example a few months ago, a restaurant bar, thinking about broadening the sort of craft beery bottle type
Mm.
range, and the owner liked the idea, didn't know much about it, but in his team had an absolute nutter when it came to this product, right?
Right.
Craft
Yes.
beer.
Mm.
And so in conversation with the team talking about what he wants to do, this kid was like, oh yeah, 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 I like that. And so the guy was like, okay, great. Well, here's what I'm thinking. What would you do?
Mm.
And this kid went nuts. I mean,
Yes.
it's such a passionate thing for them. They not only talk about the product range, they ended up doing tastings for all the staff to get them enthused. They did
Mm.
little videos on tasting notes. They went out to meet some of the suppliers and did videos to sort of send back. The passion and enthusiasm that they had for something just oozed through the
Yes.
organization, right? The venue when it came to it, but just tapping into the passions.
Mm.
Sometimes as leaders, we think we've got to have everything nailed, all the solutions, all the answers, lead from the front on absolutely everything.
Mm.
But that's unrealistic in lots of cases, right? There's
Yes.
so much latent potential
Mm.
in the teams inside some of these organizations if people just took the time to engage and understand, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's to me is where hospitality has so much opportunity, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah. Look, I agree. And I think, I wonder sometimes, I don't know whether fear is the right word, but it's that concern. Well, we've had all these years of experience, and this is just a, young person who's come into the organization. They've only been here a few weeks and they already want to be the CEO. Yes, well, yes, they probably do. But they're not going to wait around like you have for the last 15 years till Fred finally, shuffled off the mortal coil, decided to retire. So when we actually look at them, do you feel that that person may be thinking on this inside, well, if I allow them to do this, is this going to impact how people see me as the leader? Whereas I think, as you and I know, Andy, by doing that, it just opens up this creativity. You've got somebody else, but the rest of the team are looking at you and going, wow, you are being really authentic. You are showing that you are part of a team, not just telling people what to do. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Look, what a surprise. We're kindred spirits on this, Michelle. But I can't get away from the fact I'm not an expert, right? But
Mm,
I'm a massive enthusiast of the neuroscience and the psychology behind this sort of stuff, right?
mm,
Now, we are wired for connection. I mean, you used the word belonging earlier. I'm sure
mm,
we'll touch on that again later on, but we're wired for connection. We're constantly scanning for people that want our help. Unless we fall into the small dark triad of psychos and all that kind of stuff, most of us are looking to connect and help people. Now,
yes.
unintentionally as a leader, if you're constantly putting out the message, I got it all sorted.
Mm,
I have all the answers. I'm really confident. Follow me.
mm,
Chances are not that many people are going to follow you because you don't
mm.
need their help. I
Yes,
think the
yes.
whole thing about, I know the term is used vulnerability, which can be misconstrued, but
Mm,
the whole thing about opening yourself up and saying, do you know what? I have this idea. I have no idea how to do it.
mm,
Or it's not my favorite thing to do.
mm.
Maybe you could help me. We're in. People
Yes.
people want to help. And I think that whole thing about just opening yourself up, seeing what's about you, that's strength in
Mm,
leadership as opposed
yes.
to feeling like weak. And you're going to bring great stuff in. As
Mm.
my kids are telling me all the time, Michelle, I am too old to know everything. Right. It's, I think there is plenty of new thought, new energy,
Yes.
new sources of motivation if we
Mm.
just take the time to have a little look, ask some questions, and engage with the people inside the
Yeah. Look,
organizations.
look, definitely. Because that they're perhaps sometimes they're the audience that you're looking for, or those. So why not connect with the people that are in that audience and know and then they feel like they're part of the journey. So therefore they become more engaged employees. They tell their friends about, wow, where I work, my boss has, let me run with this idea. So then their friends go, geez, that must be a good place to work. So now you don't even have to put out applications because people want to work for your organization because they're proud, that one person's proud of where they work. They've shared what the opportunities they have for them. And so others come along on that journey. And we know, particularly with Gen Zs, it is that word of mouth, not just for
Mhm.
customers, but it's word of mouth for those employees because they want to work somewhere where they're going to be, yeah, that belong, be seen, be heard. That to them is really important. And when a mate, not just because, oh well, my mate works there, but more of like, my friend is actually going places. He's being or she's being listened to, or they're being listened to. I want to be a part of that. So I think, it comes back in multiple ways back to that one, owner or senior leader going, this is an idea, just like you were saying in that wonderful example.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of contribution as opposed to cultural fit. I'd much
Yes.
rather talk about
Yes.
cultural contribution than cultural fit. Fit feels to me I'm constraining and pushing someone into something, whereas
Yeah.
contribution feels a lot more how do I contribute? And I think there are plenty of people who, if you give them the chance, they will contribute. There's that horrible Gallup stat of around two-thirds of people are just present.
Yeah.
They just turn up, they do the job, that's it. The
Mm,
sad thing is, I don't like stats that sort of reinforce, but two-thirds of the two-thirds
mm.
do that because they've never been asked. That no
Exactly.
one's ever engaged with them to have a conversation about it. Now, is
Yes.
everybody going to have great ideas and want to do loads of? No,
Mm.
but we're not looking for 50 ideas a week, are we?
No,
We're just
no.
looking for a bit of connection, a bit of passion, a bit of enthusiasm, a bit of feeling like you're part of something more than just bussing tables. You know,
Yes.
that's where all the gold is, I think, Michelle.
Mm. Oh, look, definitely. And Andy, that I've been a big, strong, believer of the DISC behavioral profiling, for nearly 20 years now. And the communication, that connection there. And when I'm dealing with the people that I coach, it is about that communication piece. And you're right. There are some people that can sit around a board table and go, oh my gosh, I got this great idea. And then you've got your others that will sit back, think about it, particularly those high C's and go, I think it's a great idea, but I need a bit more information. That they'll
Mm.
come back in a few days' time and then add to that beautifully. But a lot of times it's moved on, or people just have never given them the opportunity. And I know I find that a lot. Well, I've senior leaders go, oh, I don't know about that manager. He never puts forward any ideas. He just sits there in the meetings. And then when I speak to them, they go, oh, I've really had some great ideas, but they never get around to me. Or by the time they do, somebody else has already had my ideas. So now I don't know what to say. So I just said to the CEO, put them first. Let them give them have a chance. It's something simple, but you could lose a really good employee because you're just seeing one viewpoint of them, and it's not
So,
it's not saying they're bad, but there's
no.
opportunities. Yeah.
Listen, I totally agree. I was with an equine vet conference this week for a couple of days, and we did a bit of high level behavior stuff, color, and all that kind of great stuff.
Mm.
And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because we do this for a living, right? But in that room, wonderful, lovely, caring people,
Mm.
leaders, managers, so many of them, it's a big light bulb moment when you start doing that behavioral preference stuff to go, sorry, what? They don't see it like me.
Yes.
They don't.
Yeah.
What? So, oh yeah. Do you know what? I've been thinking that person isn't engaged because they
Mm.
haven't been bringing their ideas forward. Oh, now you describe it. They're reflecting,
Mm.
right? And I haven't really invited them in or given them a chance to speak. Or,
Mm.
I mean, that's happening every day in
Yes.
every organization, and
Yes.
we're making loads of assumptions. Look,
Mm.
this all comes back to be a good human, connect,
Mm.
understand, right? Talk.
Yes. Yes.
And
Just
let's find
talk.
out rather than guess, you know?
The assumption of what?
Yeah, exactly. But it happens every day, right? It happens
It
every day
does.
because we're so busy.
Yes, yes, yeah. And you just think, oh, well, we'll just move on to the thing, which reminds me, we should move on to the next question. Yes, you'll realize, my wonderful listeners, that Annie and I do go off on tangents, but they are important tangents. So many venues are still focused on fixing the guest
Mm,
experience from the
mhm.
outside in. Can you unpack that inside out approach to customer experience that you're so well known for, and why engaged, supported teams are actually the strongest driver of guest loyalty?
I mean, for me, I mentioned the sort of value profit chain, service profit chain briefly before. I think this
Mm.
sort of directly links into that because there's an element here. If we don't understand what's working for employees in the first place, we have no chance of fixing the end result. So
Yes.
I think a lot of this is about getting out of our own way
Mm.
and really understanding what's going on behind the scenes. Right?
Mm.
What are we making difficult here?
Yes.
Are people really clear on what we're actually trying to deliver? Have we
Mm.
done the functional thing about, right, your job is to do this, 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 this? Or
Yes.
have we explained to somebody, hey, what I'd love you to do is to help guests feel this way.
Yes. Mm.
Now, I can give you some advice on how that might happen and things you might do that might contribute to that, but I'm really interested in how you feel about that. What do
Yes.
you feel confident about?
Mm.
Are you clear? What are your abilities? What are your capabilities? Am I
Mm.
supporting you in the right way? I want you to be fast, 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 fast. Oh, and I want you to make connection. And I want you to get all the orders correct. Right.
Mm.
And I want you to ad lib. And I want you to make recommendations. That's a deluge of stuff coming at me.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mm.
Have I really understood what your capabilities are? Have I
Mm.
really understood how can you see how you contribute to this overall experience we're trying to do? Have I
Mm.
even explained that to you? Actually, am I even clear about that myself?
Mm.
Because if I'm not
Yes.
clear about that, how on earth do I get you to deliver the same
Mm.
sort of stuff? So I think there's an element of dialogue in here. I mean,
Mm.
I'm sure in the flipping years and years you've been doing this, right? You must see all the time, there's a real, I guess, almost thirst and need for people to solve things without
Yes.
really understanding the root causes of stuff first.
Mm. Yes, yes, definitely. You've just touched on something that's just made my mind just go, wow. You talked about understanding what the contribution is. And
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I know when I am coaching or training, I was actually, speaking to a financial controller this morning, because I coach her, and we were talking about the domino effect when a mistake is made with finances, the books don't balance. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
always talking about the domino effect of, well, if the person doesn't make sure, that their till, is not right, then it impacts along XYZ. But I'm just thinking I need to refocus in looking at what's their contribution, and when they contribute, what's the domino effect in a positive way?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's dead easy to go where all the darkness and
Yes.
problems
Where?
are.
Mm.
Whereas I think momentum in this sort of stuff and
Mm.
encouragement comes from accentuating some of the good things.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think we're often predisposed, and maybe this is education,
Mm.
to spend our time sorting out problems because that means things will be better.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't think that's where momentum comes from. I think
Mm.
momentum comes from where energy
Definitely.
is.
Mm.
And I think if you can infuse and inspire people to understand that they are making a contribution, they're playing a part, and they can really
Mm.
see how that works, I think that's amazing. I mean, and it's not hospitality linked, but I remember doing some work in a manufacturing business where, I mean, guys were on a line cutting out bits of foam into technical shapes,
Yes.
right? And that business was seeing a lot of attrition, and
Mm.
standards were maybe slipping, quality was sort of slipping. And the simple, it says sounds simple, the simple remedy here was to explain to everybody what these things were actually being used for. And in
Yeah.
some cases, the tiny little bits of foam that they were sort of cutting out were protecting vaccines, right?
Mm.
And so connecting to sorting out a problem like a disease or in the work that they were doing and the quality, I mean, that elevated understanding,
Yes.
quality,
Mm.
the effort, the whole thing. So I think connecting that thing
Mm.
is so, so important, which is why for me, I would much rather, particularly in a hospitality setting, really think about how are you going to make somebody feel? What do
Yes.
you want to do? You've
Mm.
experienced that yourself, right? We go to places we feel stuff. How can you help somebody feel something? We see it a lot, I guess, in selling,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
This rebellion, I don't like to sell, my guests don't want us to sell. Okay, but how might you help them have a broader, deeper, better experience by offering a different product?
Mm. Yes.
Or getting them to try something they haven't tried before,
Yes.
or giving a bit of yourself in making a recommendation because you've had that and you really like that.
Yes.
That's the same thing, but with a very, very different lens. And
Mm.
sometimes I think we're looking through the wrong lens on this stuff.
Yeah. Look, definitely. And if you don't sell it to them, somebody else is going to in some other form. So why not share your experience,
Yeah,
share
yeah.
your knowledge, share your just your thoughts. And as you said, you may know the menu, or you may have been to that place, or you may have a recommendation. It just makes such a personal difference. And yes, it is all about that contribution. And we all need to feel that we contribute some way. But at times we just need to be shown what we're doing, what that positive impact is as well, isn't it?
I think that reinforcement thing's really, really important, right? I mean,
Yes.
when you train a dog when they do something right, you give them a biscuit,
Mm.
right, to reinforce that good behavior. Where are in the moment in in service,
Mm.
right? Hectic service, when someone does something fantastic, when you catch somebody delivering something brilliant, how often do we in the moment that was amazing.
Yes.
What
Yes.
you just did, I'd love to see more of that. It
Mm.
is so much easier for us to connect to these things in the moment. If
Yeah.
we try and visit it 6 weeks later in a one-to-one or something, we've moved on. We've
Yes. Yeah.
forgotten. We
Mm.
can't connect to it. And also, the emotion that we were feeling at the time when we shared that thing or did that thing differently, it's sort of lost if it isn't given some sort of trigger.
Yes.
So I think that's really, really important.
Mm. Look, definitely. And it's funny, I get pushback, from people who'll say, because it's that recognition, and oh well, I don't need it, so why do they need it? And I go, well, Some people do, but also when you're giving it in that moment, how great is it making you feel? And they think, oh, well, but it does. It
Mm.
breeds this beautiful feeling of seeing it and then acknowledging it and then seeing that smile on that person's face, that employees, but then also the customer who perhaps they're dealing with, but it's the others around them see that you've actually seen it and recognized instead of going, oh, here they come again, the boss, and they're ready to catch out every nitpicking fault.
Oh, but that's then breeds that culture, doesn't it? Now,
Yes,
if you have a culture where you're encouraging and role modeling positive feedback
yes,
and contribution,
mm,
then you'll see that kind of spread within that business itself. You
mm,
know, that's it. Also, every time we sort of like, I see this a lot, Michelle, right? People are saying, "Yeah, I don't need the praise, thanks very much.
yes,
I,
yes,
it, I don't need that." But when somebody praises you, they've taken a big personal risk to share a
mm,
bit of their feelings with you. When you say, "No, no, 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 I don't need that. I'm just doing my
mm,
job," the message you are giving to that individual, never your intention, but often is, "Your opinion doesn't matter to me."
yes, yes,
And that, if you're constantly being reinforced where you don't matter,
mm,
staff room, untidy, horrible place to be, you don't matter. We
yes,
don't pick up the good thing, you don't matter.
mm.
Why are we so surprised as business owners and leaders? Why these people aren't as passionate and caring about this business as I am? Well, because you don't care about them.
No,
You,
that's
you, you're not showing that they matter. So all
yes.
these things add up.
Yeah, it's pretty 101, but for many it's like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it that way because that's just that expectation of, oh, well, they're getting paid. Well, no, people want a lot more and they always have. It's just now they're actually saying it and asking for it and showing if they're not getting it, they will move on. And it's not
Absolutely.
just Gen Z, it's other generations that are also looking at, well, I need to be appreciated because I want to feel that I'm, as you said, that word contribution again, but I'm part of something as well. We talk about that mapping of the customer's journey, and that's something that,
Mm,
we do through my research with our
mm.
mystery shopping program. So it's important in all businesses, but also very much in that hospitality environment. It's fast, it's complex, it's human, it's all those things put together. But what are some practical, realistic ways venues can map, measure, and optimize that customer journey without overwhelming their teams? Have you've got any insights on that, Andy?
Yeah, because I was going to say all that sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's where sometimes we go wrong. Best intent again to try and nail it, and retail is detail and all that kind of good stuff. But we're dealing with emotions again here, right?
Mm,
If we really think about what the journey is about. And so for me, I don't think you need to map everything. I think
yes.
you need to map the things that matter, the moments that
Yes.
matter.
Mm,
Um, and I think that is, if we think about memories, because this is where we're at,
mm,
our memories are triggered by emotions, feelings.
mm.
I'm a big fan of Pixar movies. You've seen Inside Out. You love that.
Yes.
I love that movie. I love the
Yes.
whole idea about the little memory balls
Mm,
and the emotions that trigger those things.
yes.
That's what's going on every day in a customer journey. And
Mm,
actually, customers never think about the journey. They just think about things that happen to them.
mm,
And I think when we're mapping this stuff, it's dead easy to go too far and
mm.
forget about what we're really trying to do.
Yes.
There's there's a wonderful psychological rule here by a guy called Kahneman, the sort of peak end phenomenon. Have you heard of the peak end? So
No.
really, when we remember stuff emotionally, we remember the peak at its highest
Mm,
emotion and remember how it finished.
yes.
Now,
Mm,
if we just think about our customer journey here for a sec, where are all the moments that matter where we have a chance to think about what do we want somebody to feel at this point?
yes.
People
Mm,
often say to me when I start talking about emotions and guest feelings at this, oh, look, we've got lots of people who want lots of different things. It's
mm.
impossible to map all that. That's not what I'm talking about.
No,
I'm
no.
talking about understand the big rocks of your journey.
Mm,
And at each of those stages, ideally, how do you want a customer to feel
mm.
during that part of it? Right.
Yes. Mm,
And so if you understand the big rocks and you understand how you want someone to feel, then within that block, where's your opportunity
Mm,
to get them to feel that thing? Where is that
yes.
moment that matters?
Yes.
And then what behavior do you need to show to deliver that moment that matters? For me, if I'm mapping out a journey, that's all I want to focus on. Not
Mm,
everything, just the peak moments and the
yes.
opportunities that I have. Does
Mm.
that make sense
It does.
to
And
you?
it's so important because you're right. You can map out every single moment, but it's not highlighting or giving the opportunity of those moments that, as you said, those matters at moment to really shine
Yeah.
and to acknowledge those that are creating those moments as well, and to give them that feedback of what they did or what they said or how they interacted with somebody has made such a difference for that guest that is in front of them or perhaps has been overheard is absolutely key. It comes down to that empowerment of staff. Now, I
Oh,
remember it's probably 15, 20 years ago, empowerment, everybody was empowered to do this. And it was like, oh, here we go. Another word, another word that everybody is on the bandwagon for. And it was huge back then, it was, I think, what was that word that we had during COVID? Pivot, so
oh, yes, yes,
everybody was
yes.
pivoting. Well, empowerment was like that, all those years ago. And then it sort of died off and we filled it in with some other exciting words and multiple different words. But now it is back. And empowerment this time to me is not just empowering somebody that they can speak up. It was about supposedly they could speak up. To me now, it's just got so much more
Mm,
behind it, that
mm,
empowerment to make decisions. And I know we haven't chatted about it, but last year I headed back to the States, back to Scottsdale for a conference in the middle of the year. And when I came back, I was mentioning on my podcast how empowered those frontline team were to overhear me saying to my husband, oh, gee, I'd like that. Oh, it's got garlic. Oh, madam, the chef can certainly remove the garlic. Didn't have to go back and ask or go to a supervisor or whoever it might. They were empowered to actually make that decision and
mm.
decide on behalf of the chef that that could be done. And to me, that was that real awakening of that is true empowerment. You have got not just the empowerment to say it, but you have the support
There you go.
of your team and those that are, the chefs are allowing you to say that. Yeah. So what are your thoughts when it comes down to empowerment of staff? How are you seeing that empowerment now going, to the 2026?
Well, it has to be simple,
Mm,
not just because it's me. I
mm,
can't cope with too many complicated things. I think I think empowerment is not well understood,
mm,
firstly. I think it's not about relentless, boundaryless
mm.
freedom.
Yes.
It's about confidence as much as anything, which
Mm,
I think comes from a lot of clarity. So for me, as a consultant, my world is lived by twos and pyramids, right? But I
yes.
think there's a really simple pyramid that looks at clarity and freedom.
Mm,
And I think what we're really talking about here is that nice blend of those two things. What do you want me to do? What am
yes.
I here to do?
Mm,
What does good look like? Right?
mm,
How do I contribute? All those good things. Real clarity, giving people real clarity. Where are my boundaries?
mm.
Right? And then there's giving them the right amount of freedom with support and a framework to express themselves. There's always that thing I think in work about conformity and expression.
Mm.
I've got these are the rules. How I deliver those in my own style is my freedom of expression. And I think empowerment comes from clarity and freedom. Where we
Yes.
have ultimate freedom but no clarity, it's just chaotic,
Yes.
and stuff doesn't happen
No.
properly, right? It
No.
goes all over the shop.
Mm.
Conversely, where you've got tons and tons and tons of clarity, but no freedom of expression,
Mm.
well, you just get compliance. And that's
Yeah.
that 66% of people just turning up, right?
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
If we've got nothing of either, so no clarity and no freedom, well, I've got apathy. I don't know. I don't care. You don't
Yeah.
care. Who cares?
Mm.
To me, it comes from that clarity and freedom. And really, understanding what that means. We can't help keep talking about the sort of generational effect, whether it's generational or whether it is tenure. I
Mm.
think early in our experience or our career somewhere, we probably really need clarity more than anything. And
Yes.
then, like you said, the support, right, which
Mm.
will then give us confidence and capability. And over time, we'll feel more confident to make those decisions or make those calls. I
Yes.
think with experience, if we're overbearing and giving too much detail, then we're suppressing that expression, right?
Mm.
So
Yes.
again, they a little bit of clarity is good, less instruction, more freedom within that framework to kind of
Mm.
do what they need to do. So I
Yes.
think for me, how much clarity does somebody need
Mm.
and how much more freedom can you give them are
Mm.
the two things I would think about in that respect.
Yes, yeah. And each person is different. It's not just
100%.
it's just not a cookie cutter approach. Like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, and each area or department within your organization needs to look at it as a single unit as well. We talk about measurements. We talk about,
Oh,
benchmarking and NPS scores, and
oh God.
we trail them out at board meetings and the staff meeting. Well, here we were last week, and and banish those ones that are on the bottom there. It's like that hierarchical of let's humiliate each other because you're not on the top. Whereas for a while, people say, oh well, if they're on the top, they worked hard, and I'm not certainly not saying they haven't, but what are we doing to help those that are not at the top? How are we, because they're part of the team, how are we helping them to be a part of the journey? And they may not always be the top shining star, but that
Yep.
top shine, they've allowed that person to be the top shining star. So in your view, what does real success in customer experience look like for hospitality businesses? And what should leaders be paying closer attention to when it comes to these wonderful scoring patterns, whether it's on the internally on the teams or whether it's, the NPS scores with the guests?
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole other topic,
Yes.
scores, right? Because, some days, right, I'll get surveyed after workshops,
Mm,
right? And I pay as little attention to the nines and tens sometimes as I'll get to the ones and twos
mm,
because I'm like, this might sound conceited. There's no way when I'm in a room this is a one and two, right?
yes.
Something's gone wrong.
Mm,
But equally, nines and tens, it's too easy to tick,
mm,
right? Too easy to tick. I think what I have to think about is how did I show up
mm,
and how did I react? How did I change? How did I adapt? All those sorts of bits and pieces. And I think when we come to truly understand the people element of customer satisfaction, there are lead and lag measures, and I
mm,
know lots of people are really, really happy with things like NPS, which I think has sort of morphed into being used for something it wasn't originally really
mm.
intended for, right? It was supposed to be a future predictor of growth.
Yes,
It was
yes.
supposed to be that Frank Reicheld's one metric to measure to
Mm,
hold clear in the future of this business from a growth perspective. Because if
mm,
people were advocates, everything would line up, right?
yes. Mm,
And we've morphed it into ENPS now, right? As well, internally. Okay,
mm,
would you recommend working here
yes.
to somebody else?
Mm,
Okay. I'm not the biggest fan. I've used it and
mm,
some of my clients love it.
yes.
I think this is actually about trying to understand more of the people dynamics underneath, because that's
Mm,
where our focus is today, right?
yes.
If we come back to that value profit chain again, how are my employees feeling? Because
Mm,
I know that's going to have a direct impact on my customers, and I can marry up the two. I bet you,
yes. Mm,
if you're tracking how proud someone is to work in your organization, whether they feel like they belong there, do they have the ability to do their best and contribute every day? If you've got high scores on there, I
mm,
bet you've got high scores on the customer facing
yes.
elements.
Yes.
Now, what do I control? Well, I don't control either,
Mm,
really. Where do I influence? I influence my team
yes.
because that's that distributed hospitality is ultimate distributed brand leadership,
Mm,
right?
mm,
I have to have everybody in that venue delivering that experience.
mm,
That's what I'm being judged on from a customer perspective.
yes.
So actually my influence is really on the people inside my
Mm,
organization. So how proud do they feel?
Mm.
Do they feel like they belong? Do they feel like they're making a contribution? Are they able to give of their best? To
Yes.
me, those are the things that I would pay most attention to on the inside. I'd
Mm.
also have a little look at why people are leaving.
Yes. Oh, it's so
You know,
critical. Mm.
maybe exit interviews is a bit much, but a chat is to sort of say what's going on because the number one reason people still leave businesses, places is the relationship with their line manager.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think we need to pay a bit more attention to what the managers and supervisors are doing and how they're building
Mm.
relationships and trust with their team because that I think retains people. People
Mm.
who stay with us longer understand what we're trying to do better, have more confidence and experience in doing that stuff better.
Mm.
So I think those are the areas that I would focus on. Does that sort of like answer your question,
Yeah, look,
Michelle?
it does. And you're right. We too often we wait till we get the text from the Gen Z, not coming back, or they just don't answer the phone, they don't answer the
Oh yeah.
text, and they don't turn up. Then the roster just goes out the door, and you've got people until finally one of the buddies will say to you, "Well, actually, they're not coming back," and you think, "Why? What? I thought they would. I thought they enjoyed being working here. I didn't know there was anything wrong." And then you can't reach out to them because they've just ghosted you. It's as simple as that. So to me, even though we've got so much going on when we're the lead part of the leadership team or the owner of that business, we need to have our eyes really open when we walk into our
Mhm,
organizations
mhm, mhm.
and really look at the people and notice the tiny little changes in people's behavior? Is it something that's happening at work? Are you starting to see on the roster that when they're rostered with X person, that they're all of a sudden, not able to come in? It's to me, it's looking for the patterns.
Yeah,
And
100%.
and I always remember, and it's my daughter, my youngest, who used to say to me, "Mum, I thought, on a Tuesday, I would say to you, this is back in third class, that you didn't realize that I didn't like computers." But I'd, you know, must have been three of these Tuesdays when I thought there's a pattern forming here. And what it was, I had an Apple, but they were on a PC at school. So when she'd go in, competent on Apple, not competent on PC. So we just got a
Yeah.
little PC, and it was just identifying that, and then it just made such a world of difference. And that was just me thinking, as a mother as well, but in the workplace, it's the same. What are those changes and behaviors? Where are those patterns forming that we should trigger us into having a conversation or finding somebody who gets on well with them that can have that conversation and not so much dibber-dobbing on them, but just checking in. Is there something we can help them with? Do they need an extra resource? Do they need 4 days off next week and they just don't know how to tell us?
Yeah.
Or they
I
need,
think
like, have a conversation.
I think that's the conversation again. I know you sound like not you. I we sound like frauds when we say this is about understanding and connection. You can't
Mm.
make those calls.
Yes.
You can't make those connections if you don't understand the person.
No,
If you
no.
don't realize that all of a sudden, do you know what? They've gone a bit quiet.
Mm.
Or they've lost that bit of spark, or they seem
Yes.
to be in a bit more irritable. What's going on? All
Mm.
that surface stuff that we see, we're making loads of assumptions about what it is. Actually, we need to get under the surface level, find
Yes.
out what's really, really going on, and then we'll find some answers, and then we can do something. The more we can
Yes.
see, the more we can fix, right?
Yeah. And then we don't lose a really good employee
Exactly.
who you do truly value, but it's giving them the opportunity to also, back to that word, how they contribute to the business and how important that
Absolutely.
is and making them feel good. All right, our one last question, because yes, as you know, we could talk all day. We're on two very different time zones. If my listeners haven't realized, I'm here. It's nighttime on a Friday afternoon in Sydney, Australia, and it is very hot. And Andy is on the other side of the world in the UK, suffering from coldness,
Yeah,
perhaps.
very much wet and cold, mate.
Wet and
Wet and
cold.
cold.
Oh, well, very different to here. So, if there is one mindset shift in hospitality leaders need to make right now when it comes to customer experience, what would it be, Andy? And why does it matter so much in today's market?
Okay. I think maybe it's dead easy to start thinking, well, how do we start this conversation about how do I improve the experience? I
Mm.
think great intention
Yes.
maybe flip the switch, maybe flip the mindset a little bit is to where am I making this hard to
Mm,
deliver?
yes.
What
Mm,
have I got? What roadblocks can I take out? What pressure can I ease? What support can I give? Because I think if you've got that clear vision about what we're trying to do, then your job is actually making that frictionless and easy for people to do. So
yes.
for me, I would say, where can you get out your way? Where can you remove those roadblocks, right? How can I make this easy for people? Because I
Yes.
think the culture of business, it's not about all the sunshine, lovely days. The
Yeah.
real culture of a business is revealed when it's tough and when
Yes.
it's hard. And how you can lead into that, I think is really, really important. Look, when it comes to hospitality, particularly, we can stay in and buy that food and drink and
Yes.
consume that thing at home. But
Mm,
we go out to feel something.
yes.
The
Yes.
competitive advantage, I think, for hospitality, and it must be the same in Australia, but in the UK, hospitality is getting an absolute kicking
Mm,
right now, which makes me feel very sad. But
yes.
then there are a lot of mediocre offers out there because we're looking at the wrong thing. I
Mm,
think the competitive advantage of hospitality comes back to make a human connection, right?
yes.
Deliver it consistently and make it authentic
Mm,
and really help your people see how they contribute to that.
yeah. Thank you so much, Andy, for your contribution in this conversation that we've had today. But it is that connection, and that's what we've done here across the international waters. I thank you so much for your time today. Before we leave, I will put all your links in the show notes, but let my listeners know how they can connect with you, Andy, and hear more on your podcast, but also what you offer to them.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I would like to think I'm visible on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So you can find me at Andy Goram at LinkedIn. Uh, I have a company website called bizjuicer.com. Don't worry if you can't spell it. I understand that, but that's all there. And the podcast is like sticky from the inside. I have amazing people come on, just like yourself, Michelle. I get to geek out and get passionate about leadership, culture, employee engagement, all those things.
Mm,
And from my perspective, look, all I really want to do is help people have a better time at work, right? If we can have more fulfilling work lives, life becomes a lot easier. And so whether it's leadership development or journey mapping or values and leadership principles, all that kind of stuff, that's what I get the absolute joy of doing every day today. So yeah, that's what I do.
you certainly do. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining me today. Take care.
Take care, Michelle. Great to see you.